Good evening, everybody, and welcome back for Ragtime Christmas 2024. I hope none of you are accidentally watching last year's Christmas stream or the one from the year before that. I know that's happened to a few of my friends, so I'm starting to put the year in a few of my virtual concerts. Anyhow, I'm going to be doing a lot of the old Christmas pop songs, and these are mostly the songs written by the great Tin Pan Alley songwriters, not the sacred hymns and so forth as much, because I can put a little bit more ragtime in these kind of tunes. And I think it's great to start a Christmas concert with this classic song. It's actually from the early 1950s, 1951. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And this was written by Meredith Willson, who's the man that wrote The Music Man. Obviously performed by Perry Como, since he's on the cover of the music. Here it is now. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Thank you very much. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Well, it looks like everything's working. I now have over 80 listeners on YouTube, quite a few from the UK. My gosh, appreciate you listening, even though it's the middle of the night over there. As most of you all know, my specialty is ragtime and the early jazz period. A lot of these songs I'll be playing tonight do kind of go out of that realm quite a bit, but I have a few traditional rags to play for you, so let's do those now at the beginning of the concert. And next up is a piece by Percy Winrick, who was called the Joplin Kid because he was from Joplin, Missouri. Didn't have anything to do with Scott Joplin. And this is a piece he wrote called Snow Deer, back about 1908, something like that. And it was revived in the early 50s by Lou Bush, who was Joe Finger's car, and it became known as Snow Deer Rag in the 50s. Technically, I don't think rag was in the original title. That's true of many pieces from the era, like Joplin's Silver Swan. Actually, rag is not in the original title, but I thought this piece was fitting for Christmas. I've done it the last couple of years. It's the Snow Deer Rag by Percy Winrick. Thank you very much. Snow Deer Rag, sometimes, by Percy Winrick. Well, there is a classic rag that I know I have done it in every Christmas concert that I've played so far, and I figure I will get some requests for it tonight, so let's go ahead and do it now, by Joseph Lamb, who in my estimation is really only second to Scott Joplin in this field of music. And he wrote this piece in 1915, and it's just perfect for this time of year. It's called Reindeer. Again, the word rag isn't actually in there. It's reindeer, and then subtitled Ragtime Two-Step, 1915 by Joseph F. Lamb. Thank you very much. Reindeer Rag by Joseph Lamb. Well, now I feel like I'm a little bit more warmed up. And if you're so inclined, I do accept virtual tips for these concerts. All you have to do is send in a tip on PayPal or Venmo. The information is in the posting and the chat on all three websites. Even just a little bit now and then is very helpful to my career, and that's partly why I do these concerts, is to try and make a more successful life out of the itinerant ragtime pianist. Some friends of mine gave me some bow ties they sent me for Christmas. I'm just really thrilled with these. I hope you can see it, along with my Christmas vest, which I don't get to wear very often for my virtual concerts. And let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Last year my Christmas concert nearly went viral. It has 66,000 views on my YouTube channel, so don't forget to hit the like button, share the live stream. Let's see if we can do it again. Apparently, ragtime style Christmas songs is a very popular thing. Yeah. I'm going to mention twice in the concert, and probably for the foreseeable future, that you can now get your tickets for the Durango Ragtime and Early Jazz Festival, which will be the first weekend of April, April 3rd through the 6th, 2025. And you have to get the tickets through the Durango Arts Center. Discounted hotel rooms are available from the historic Strader Hotel. And I spent the last few days building a website for the Ragtime Festival. It's about time that everything was in one place, all the necessary information. Now, I am far from a web designer, and I'm still having a little trouble with the email subscriber list because I can't figure the dang thing out. I studied piano, not Google Workspace, but anyway, you can now see the website for the Ragtime Festival. I put it up online last night, so just go to durangoragtime.com and let me know what you think. Drop me a message if you think I need to include any more information that may be missing or something like that. Again, check it out and let me know what you think. durangoragtime.com. I sound like a radio announcer. Guess I'll be quiet and play some more music. The type of Christmas pop songs, most of which I'll be playing tonight, I don't think it really got started until the 1930s. I'm going to play two songs that I put together a while back because they're from the same year, 1934. First, the famous Winter Wonderland, which was actually written for one of the Ziegfeld Follies, produced by Billy Burke after Flo Ziegfeld died. Of course, if you don't know who Billy Burke was, that was his widow. She later played the Good Witch Glinda in The Wizard of Oz. And with it, a song that was written by J. Fred Coots, the great songwriter in 1934. It was Coots and the prolific lyricist Haven Gillespie who wrote Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which was originally introduced by Eddie Cantor that year. So here's Winter Wonderland and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. you very much. Winter Wonderland and Santa Claus is coming to town. Well, I thought of a song to play for all of you, which I've never performed before. And it's not Christmas related per se, but a pop song from the early 1930s, which I think is just fitting for this time of year. And so I'm going to play it for you now. It's a song that was written by Ray Noble and a couple of British songwriters, which is called In the Gloaming by the Fireside. This was a very popular tune of the time, recorded by people like Al Bowley and even Kate Smith and Rudy Valley and others. So for those of us that don't live in warm places like Florida, Kelly, wink, wink, here's In the Gloaming by the Fireside. Thank you very much. In the Gloaming by the Fireside. I meant to look up before tonight's concert what gloaming it means. It's a word that I've heard in many 100-year-old songs. I think it sort of means twilight, is my understanding, but maybe one of you could look it up for us and then put it in the chat. Yeah, it was a common term of the era, I suppose. Dave Goodlaxon is mentioning a piece of music from the 1800s with a similar name. Yeah, evening or twilight. That's what I thought. Let me read the chat here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Hey, I've got a few more listeners on Facebook than lately. Up to about 45. I see the conversation on Facebook. I sure hope a lot of you will come to the Ragtime Festival in Durango. We could get a group picture with some of the, Sunday night virtual concert listeners. Amy says 187 total. That's fantastic. Dylan, I haven't had a chance to look into that Christmas medley you mentioned, but I want to hear it. Maybe that'd be something really great for me to play next year. Because it's arranged by Billy Merrill, it would take some practice, I'm afraid. I'm going to play a song for you. I think I did this last year. A number of these I've done in previous years, but there will be some new tunes as well, like the one you just heard, By the Fireside. This one was written in part by the great 1920s and 30s radio star Glenn Rowell. And of course, I love Glenn's music because of Johnny Maddox. They made an album together, and Glenn was primarily known for writing the hit tune, I Get the Blues When It Rains. And in the 1920s, he was teamed with Ford Rush. They were called Ford and Glenn. And then in the 30s, he teamed up with Gene Carroll, and they were called Gene and Glenn. This is a Gene and Glenn song, written in collaboration with Cal Duvall, who was a popular songwriter of the period. It's called Bring Back That Old-Fashioned Christmas. Here's the original sheet music cover. And the original copyright on this was 1939, transferred to the Paul Pioneer Music Company in 1942, of course, which was a descendant of the March composer E.T. Paul. I thought it might be real nice to read some of the lyrics to this song. There's a recitation here on the first page, and you know something, they really just don't write songs like this anymore. I think it's a shame. Glenn also wrote a really great patriotic song that Fred Waring recorded called Where in the World But in America. And in any event, this type of lovely writing is no longer done. You know, if you listen to the pop music of the stars today, whether it's rap or hip-hop or whatever you call it, it's really, really terrible and vulgar compared to these wonderful songs. Here's a Bring Back That Old-Fashioned Christmas. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. How sweet that old command. 'Twas spoken on a Christmas when an infant ruled the land. No mighty man of war was he, one armed with greed and hate, but just a babe who gently taught that love alone was great. As time rolled on, the world forgot, and tyrants rose to power. Who would destroy man's peaceful lot and bring destruction's hour? But just as sure as heaven's sun can't be effaced by men, those words divine shall be the sign of peace on earth again. So let all freedom-loving hosts uphold the right and pray that all mankind will once more find what's meant by Christmas Day. you very much. Bring back that old-fashioned Christmas. I'm certainly in favor of that. No, I did not say E.T. Paul was involved in the composition. I said he was the music publisher. And I think he was long dead by the time that song came out. I don't remember what year he died, but his style of music was out of fashion by the early 1940s for sure. Here's one of the Christmas songs which I have never played before. I don't think the original copy of this is all that easy to find. I only just recently purchased this. Here's the sheet music cover. Mele Kalikimaka, Merry Christmas in Hawaiian. I think I played some Hawaiian songs on previous Christmas concerts because I would much rather be in a warm place myself. And it's Hawaii's way of saying Merry Christmas, recorded by Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters on Decca Records. Words and music by R. Alex Anderson. I don't know if he was actually from Hawaii or not. I have no idea. The song dates from 1950. Mele Kalikimaka is Hawaii's way to say Merry Christmas to you. Thank you, folks. Mele Kalikimaka. Some of these tunes are quite simple, and I don't really have very long arrangements of these songs, but good. I see somebody was going to request that song anyway. Go ahead and send in your requests, everybody. I imagine a lot of them are famous songs that I'm already planning to play, at least in the realm of Christmas pop music. I'm checking Facebook real quick. Great to have a few more people on Facebook tonight. Oh, Bob Milne just joined us. Nice to find you, Bob. Or nice to see you. I'm sorry you had a hard time finding me. I got the concert started about 3 or 4 minutes late. That could be why. Don't see many listeners on Twitch tonight. Oh, well. Yeah, you're right, Carl. Broke 200 viewers. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I'll try and keep you entertained. Next up, a medley of 2 famous Christmas songs. And I do these 2 together because Johnny Maddox did these back-to-back on a 78 record for Dot Records back in the early 50s when these songs were practically brand new. And the first one was written by the wonderful Johnny Marks. If you don't know that name, he was a Jewish guy who specialized in writing Christmas songs. And he wrote Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He wrote Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. He wrote A Holly Jolly Christmas. That was his business. And he was just like the old Tin Pan Alley songwriters. In fact, you can see an interview with Johnny Marks on my YouTube channel that was filmed by the late Ian Whitcomb. In any event, here's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and with it, from about 1952 or 53, I think 52, is I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you the sheet music cover for this one, because it's one of the few pieces of music I have in my collection of vintage sheet music, she's going to kill me for saying that belonged to my mother. Here it is, the original cover artwork, with my mother's name, Roma, in the upper right-hand corner from when she was probably a little girl. And I've kept it filed away with the rest of my music collection. This is the original edition from 1952, but I would suspect that she bought it, a few years after that, but when they were still printing it, which is interesting. So here's Rudolph and I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Thank you very much. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. A friend of mine sent me an email the other day with a complete history of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Apparently, he was a character invented by the Montgomery Ward department stores. And at the time that song was written, it was a fairly new thing. Gene Autry had the big hit record on that in 1949 when the song was written. And it's funny to think, the biggest cowboy star in the world, his biggest hit record of his career was actually a Christmas song. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. If you think I'm getting distracted, I'm not completely off topic here. Well, speaking of Gene Autry, I'm going to play a few more of the songs that he recorded, and maybe this will answer some of your requests anyway. When I first performed this song for Christmas concert a few years ago, I couldn't remember who had the hit record on this song. So a few days ago, I looked it up, and there's quite a history to it. It was written for Gene Autry, and he was the first one to record it and make it a big hit as a sort of follow-up to the Rudolph song. But it was also done by Jimmy Durante, of all people, and then later Perry Como. It's just a very famous song from the year 1950, again around the same time. Here's Frosty the Snowman. And it was published by Hill and Range Songs Incorporated in Southern California, which published a lot of the early, it used to, way back it was called hillbilly, but later on country music, back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. So you can tell there's a little bit of a connection to the country music field. Frosty the Snowman, and with it, another one of the Gene Autry tunes called Here Comes Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Thank you very much, everybody. Kelly says, hit the like button. That's right. I would sure appreciate that, folks. Oh, I'm not really planning any boogie-woogie tonight. I suppose I could play some regardless. Let me see what I've got on the list here. There's about one more Christmas pop tune. Oh no, quite a few more. Let's do White Christmas next. And maybe I'll do a boogie woogie just for fun, but let's do a slower ballad. And this is one of the most famous songs of all time. I understand that Bing Crosby's record of this song has never been surpassed, sold something like 40 or 45 million copies. I'd have to go back and consult the Bing magazine to be sure about that, but I don't think any artist has ever beat it. Written by the one and only Irving Berlin for the movie Holiday Inn, 1942. Here's the original cover art of White Christmas, which was at least 10 or 11 years before the movie White Christmas was made. The song was written for the movie Holiday Inn. Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, two of the greatest performers of the period. And you hardly ever hear the original verse to this song, which actually helps it make more sense. Here's the words to the verse. The sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been such a day in Beverly Hills, LA. But it's December the 24th, and I'm longing to be up north. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. And just to flesh out the arrangement, I include another Bing Crosby hit called I'll Be Home for Christmas. So here's two Bing Crosby songs, including the one that won the Academy Award for Best Song, 1942, White Christmas. Thank you very much. A couple of the more gorgeous Christmas ballads of the 1940s. Well, send in some more requests, folks. Let's see how many of them I can do. I see some discussion of Randy Sparks on YouTube tonight. I don't know why that came up tonight, but I really wish I could have met him. Yeah, I definitely have a weakness for the New Christy Minstrels. I'm going to do Santa Claus Blues. Actually, I'm going to play a piano roll of that. Let's do that now, since I got a request for it. Snowy Morning Blues, that's a great idea. I'll have to try and learn that for next year. I'm going to play a piano roll now and give myself a little bit of a rest. I actually performed this piece last year, I think, but that's the only time I've ever played it. And so I'm going to play a roll of it this time, which I just purchased on eBay a few weeks ago. And this is kind of interesting because the piano roll is played by the great virtuoso Roy Bargy. And actually, the music on the roll is credited to Roy Bargy as the composer, but the sheet music is Charlie Strait. It was probably Strait who wrote it, I suppose, but they work together often, and so it's kind of hard to tell. You never know. Here's an Imperial piano roll now, which I'm going to play on my 1913 Apollo player piano. The tune, I think, is from the early 20s. Let me look at the date. It's tiny. 1919. Here's the Santa Claus Blues. Let's start over. Have to get the tracking just right. This is an Apollo player piano. Unfortunately, it does not have automatic tracking, but I do have a dynamic lever, which is nice to add expression and pedaling and everything yourself. Claus Blues. Thankfully, this piano has an automatic rewind. And we'll put that away for the night. Well, it's exactly 7 o'clock here in Durango, Colorado. And I would like to mention again that I do accept virtual tips for these concerts. All you have to do is send in a tip on PayPal or Venmo. The information is in the chat and the postings on all three websites, especially in the wintertime where I don't have as much work. It's a little bit goes a long way. It helps me to make a career out of this music and keep it alive. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm producing the Durango Ragtime and Early Jazz Festival the first weekend of April here in Durango, Colorado. I just released a new website for the festival, which is durangoragtime.com. Check it out. It has more information, I think, than you've been able to access anywhere as of yet. You still have to get your tickets through the Durango Arts Center, and there are discounted hotel rooms available at the Strader Hotel. If you give them the code word Ragtime and get your hotel room in the Ragtime Festival block there. I'll be doing a lot more on that in the coming months. But in the meantime, let me know what you think of the new website. I worked hard on it for the last 2 or 3 days. No, afraid I don't know that tune. I'm looking at the requests here on YouTube. We'll get as many of them as I can, but I've got quite a few more on my list. Let me get the sheet music spread out properly. There's a tune sitting right here. I think I'll play this for you next. My copy's kind of beat up, but here's the original edition. Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, which was written by Julie Stein, one of the famed songwriters of World War II, who wrote beautiful ballads like I'll Walk Alone, and It's Been a Long, Long Time. He later wrote many famous Broadway musicals like Gypsy with Stephen Sondheim. This song is from 1945, lyrics by Sammy Kahn. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Please don't. snow, let it snow, let it snow. Well, for the last several years, I have, oh my gosh, Mario says we're currently streaming on 4 devices at the same time. Hey, why don't you all do that? Oh, Kelly, I'm going to play that, don't worry. It's coming up. But in the meantime, I was going to mention, I do, every year I send out some Christmas cards. I sent about 100, and I have so many friends in different parts of the country, it's hard for me to send them to everyone. But I've been using sheet music covers as my holiday cards. And so this year I chose one that's very special because it was autographed for me by the performer on the cover of the music. And here's the original copy. It's a song from 1939, and it's unusual. It was written by Lanny Rogers. I don't know who he was. And Spencer Williams, the famous black songwriter from New Orleans. It's just really funny to think of him writing a Christmas song. And that's why I asked Dame Vera Lynn to autograph this music for me. Those of you in England, I'm sure you know who Dame Vera Lynn was. And here's the original copy she signed for me. It's the American edition of the song, actually, called I'm Sending a Letter to Santa Claus. Hopefully you can see that. To Adam Swanson, yours, Vera Lynn. And we're not going to use the precious original copy to play the music. I'm going to use Xerox here. The song was also recorded by Gracie Fields. Uh-oh. My internet just went off. Gosh, I hope that was only on my computer. Yeah, it looks like it was only on my computer. Good, thank heavens. Oh, yes, of course, the Durango and Silverton is still running Polar Express. That's one of their biggest moneymakers every year. Wow, 180 viewers on YouTube tonight. That's amazing. Thank you, folks. Anyway, well, I'm doing this British song, and it was recorded by both Vera Lynn and Gracie Fields in England. It's called I'm Sending a Letter to Santa Claus. But it's not really about a kid who's asking for presents. He's writing a letter in hopes that his dad, who's away fighting as a soldier in the war, will come home safely. I met a little fellow with a letter in his hand. He asked me if I'd post it in the box for Fairyland. I slipped it in the mailbox for that little curly head. It seemed to make him very happy as he smiled and said, I'm sending a letter to Santa Claus, a letter I hope he'll receive. Oh, I wonder if he will please remember me when he calls on Christmas Eve. He'll get a lot of letters for playthings from other girls and boys, but I want my soldier daddy. He's better than all the toys. And so I'm sending a letter to Santa Claus to bring daddy safely home to me. sending a letter to Santa Claus. Well, I saw a request just a second ago to play a song which I was already planning to perform, and I used this one as a Christmas card a while back too, which is kind of interesting because this one I was also able to have autographed by the composer, the songwriter who wrote Santa Baby in 1953. His name is Phil Springer, and he is now 98 years old. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I wrote him a letter, got a nice letter from him in return, and had him autograph a bunch of the songs that he wrote. He composed songs, pop songs for people like Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, and of course Eartha Kitt, who introduced Santa Baby in 1953. This is the original copy, and you probably can hardly read it. It says, "For Adam Swanson, thanks for playing this every Christmas forever," from Phil Springer, the composer. And it's widely considered the only sexy Christmas song ever written. And I've played it enough times now, it's up here in the old noggin. I don't even need the sheet music. Here's Santa Baby. very much. Santa baby, hurry down the chimney tonight. Let me check my list real quick, folks. I'm reading your comments. I've got about 3 more pieces on the list. So I've got time for plenty more requests. Go ahead and send them in, folks. Let me know what you want to hear. Yeah, we got to 199 on YouTube. I think that's the most I've had and the most viewers I've had in a long time. The little boy that Santa Claus forgot. That sounds very sad. Oh, no, 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 no. Hardly anybody on Twitch tonight, but you can't blame a guy for checking. Play the funeral march for Christmas. Now, why would I do that? I'll be glad when the hullabaloo's over, to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and do this, since I don't seem to be getting any more requests. Yeah, that is kind of a British sense of humor, isn't it? Here's a song which was again written by Johnny Marks, the famed Jewish Christmas songwriter, which is very funny. So much of the Great American Songbook was written by Jews. I think it's wonderful. This was written for a TV show called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with Burl Ives in about 1964. Yeah, 62 or 64. There's 2 copyright dates on it. Here's the sheet music cover with the great Burl Ives, the folk singer who was in so many Disney movies and so forth. Have a holly jolly Christmas. And I'm going to kind of try and rag up the arrangement here. holly jolly Christmas with a little extra ragtime thrown in there. Well, give me some more requests, everybody. I need about one more here to finish out the night. I'm going to check all the websites so I don't miss anything. Oh yeah, I'll be doing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Oh, Christmas Island. I'm afraid I've never played that, Regina. No, on a good old time sleigh ride, don't know that. Let me do one more ragtime piece. I saw a request for this from Jim, and this is truly my favorite ragtime waltz, which dates all the way back to 1899, and it fits in just for the winter time because it's called Echoes from the Snowball Club. It's written by a black composer named Harry P. Guy from Detroit, Michigan. And I know this is heresy, but I think I like it even better than the Scott Joplin waltzes. So here's Echoes from the Snowball Club. you so much. Echoes from the Snowball Club. I believe I read a long time ago that the Snowball Club was actually a nickname for the Black Musicians Union in Detroit, something like that. It's not really about kids throwing snowballs at each other, but for tonight, we'll pretend it is. Yeah, Ragtime Chimes would have been another great one that I could play for tonight, but just don't know it by heart. There's only so many songs I can play by memory. And what we're going to do now is a medley of songs from probably my favorite Christmas movie, and it's very interesting to me because first of all, it's a ragtime era movie. It's also one of the greatest movies of the golden age of Hollywood, and it's a Christmas movie. It's all of those things combined, and of course I'm speaking about the 1944 MGM picture, Meet Me in St. Louis. I always like to play the songs from this movie around the holidays, and so two of them are actually from the original ragtime period. Meet Me in St. Louis, of course, by Carrie Mills, and then Under the Bamboo Tree, which was written by Colin Johnson, one of the early black songwriting teams on Broadway. 1902 is when that song was written. And of course, it was performed in the movie by Judy Garland and Margaret O'Brien. I did get to meet her briefly at the Cinecon Classic Film Festival. I'm sure she wouldn't remember it, but I did ask her about performing that song, Under the Bamboo Tree. And Margaret O'Brien said that it was the singing that made her nervous as a little kid. Singing with Judy Garland made her nervous, but the dancing came naturally to her because her mother was a flamenco dancer. She'd probably been dancing all of her life. So anyhow, that's the first two songs, and then the other three songs were written by Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine. And there's the ballad called The Boy Next Door, which Judy Garland sang to Tom Drake in the movie. And then the holiday classic, which I think it's my favorite Christmas song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I'll do that, including the original verse, which you don't often hear, and then finish the whole thing with the trolley song, of course, the big hit from the movie. So here now is my Meet Me in St. Louis medley. you so much, everybody. That's my Meet Me in St. Louis medley. I hope you've enjoyed these Christmas songs with a little bit of extra ragtime flair tonight. I sure love those songs, both the original ones and the ones that Hugh Martin wrote. I do want to mention that I will play another virtual concert next Sunday night, which is going to be something where there's a lot of familiar tunes that I know, and part of that's because I'm going to Texas to see my parents for a couple of days, and I won't have much time to practice this week. But I will be back next Sunday night with another virtual concert, and what I'm thinking about doing is ragtime era blues. So I've done, like blues and boogie woogie, but next Sunday night's concert will be specifically ragtime era blues from way back in the 1910s. And I know so much of that music. I love it. It'll be easy for me to do that concert. And I hope you will all join me then. There is one more song I'm going to play tonight, which is a little bit more religious, I suppose. And part of the reason I want to play this is I remember last year when I did this concert, the stream cut out right at the end of the performance, and I don't know that any of you got to hear me play this. So I'm going to do Silent Night, both as a waltz and then in ragtime. And this is a beautiful old melody. I understand it's an Austrian melody that's over 200 years old. So here's Silent Night with a little bit of ragtime too. you very much. That's just kind of playing around with a famous old song. And I appreciate all of you listening tonight. I really do. Don't forget to share this live stream. Maybe it'll go viral like last year's Christmas concert. Thank you also for the virtual tips, especially during the winter when I don't have as much work. It's much appreciated. Don't forget to get your tickets for the Ragtime Festival. This is the first time I've produced a music festival by myself, and it would mean a lot to me if you can help support it. And so I hope to see many of you in April. And please join me next Sunday night for the Ragtime Era Blues concert. There'll be a lot of W.C. Handy and maybe some more tunes you haven't heard. So that's the plan. And for now, good night, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and everything else to all of you. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week.